fires in LA have really brought the attention to me, and I'm sure many others, about the vulnerability that places can have when they have an 8-month drought followed by very, very strong winds. Hello and welcome to the 4th episode of Future Marketing UK. Thanks so much for joining me. Today I want to talk about climate change and how it is going to affect your business. Okay. Now, I always start with the SWOT analysis. These are the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. These series of episodes will focus on the opportunities and threats, which are both external to your business, and it's really a hallmark of your business how well you can deal with external threats and external opportunities. Now, climate change is always in the news. To some extent we get desensitized about it. It kind of feels like somebody else's problem. In many ways that's true. It's our children's problem and their children's problem. But it is a current problem, and it's a problem as much for businesses as it is for individuals or households. Now, the fires in LA have really brought the attention to me, and I'm sure many others, about the vulnerability that places can have when they have an 8-month drought followed by very, very strong winds. This seems to have been a very potent combination in the recent fires in LA. And this has obviously helped to destroy tens of thousands of private dwellings, but also, less in the news, I suspect hundreds if not thousands of businesses as well. Now, a lot of these houses and businesses are not that far away from trees or dry foliage. And this seems to be part of the problem in the sense that the source of fire can get really quite close to the business or the house. And in addition to that, in the hurricane force winds, you've got sparks that can travel miles, can land on something flammable within your business or within your home, and it can set fire directly to something flammable within your premises. Now, you're probably watching this in the UK, and you're probably thinking, well, this doesn't apply to me. When was the last time we had an 8-month drought? Well, you'd be surprised. Over the last 10 or 15 years, we've had quite a few years where the rainfall has been actually remarkably low. Strangely enough, sometimes coinciding with the winter months, particularly sort of from Christmas all the way to, say, sort of June or August. It seems to be able to be very, very dry. I can think of a few years where very little rain has fallen. And in particular, you've got, last time you've flown over the UK, you'll notice that actually most of it is pretty wooded, and those woods and trees extend all the way up to the perimeters of business parks, housing estates, and even where you haven't necessarily got trees going up to houses, you've got flammable stuff like dry grass or cars with tanks of fuel in them. So you've got this kind of possibility of something not too dissimilar happening in the UK. Now, you'll probably be thinking, okay, what can I do about it? There's not much I can do about it apart from, water the forest when it gets too dry, which is obviously impractical. How am I actually going to stop this from happening? Well, in short, you can't stop the fires. It's not within your power to stop the fires from going. It's not within your power to stop the fires from getting close to your front door. But as a business owner, there's two things you can do. You can, actually three things you can do. So you can plan for it. So, dust down that disaster recovery plan that you have tucked away. Let's see if you can remember where it's tucked away. Dust it down, have a look at it. Does it cover you for a fire coming up to your premises from a group of trees or a woodland that extends up to your business premises? Have you got a plan for if it happens? Okay. Next is insurance. In this country, we tend to have fire covered in our insurance. In LA, this was less the case because the risk of fire was that much higher. So a lot of insurance policies didn't cover fire. So there's a lot of real loss, financial loss in LA. That's not so much the case here. And so just make sure that your insurance covers you for fire damage. And if it doesn't, for any reason, maybe because you've got a heightened risk of fire, it probably is worth paying the premium next time you renew, to really make sure that you're financially covered from it. Often with businesses, though, the insurance doesn't cover you from loss of earnings; it just covers you from the initial destruction of goods. So you need to think about whether you can get yourself insured for loss of earnings, whether that's practical. But these things are definitely worth looking at. In this country, you could argue that flooding is more of a risk to your business. Do you live in a very sort of flat business estate? If you work from home, obviously generally your home insurance covers against floods. But there's one thing being insured against it, and there's another about doing something about it directly, so you're not affected. Now, again, depending on the size of your business and depending on whether you've had flooding before, if you've been flooded before, chances are you're not covered for floods, or if you are, you're paying through the nose for it, or the excess is very high for flood damage claims. Either way, you might want to consider being a little bit proactive and maybe buying in a few pumps, diesel powered pumps, because obviously floods you could have no power. Consider having some diesel powered pumps if there's a simple way you can pump the water out, down the road or over a raised bit of land or into a river. Anything that's local to you that you can see working is worth, I think, spending a few £100. If your business is turning over a few million, it's probably worth you investing a few £100 for a diesel pump that you hope never to use, but it's there if you do. Now, of all these proactive disaster planning, it kind of relies on you being around when it happens, and there's a good chance, and more than a 50% chance, it's going to happen at night or when you're not in the business. So you need to either make sure that your other employees know how to use it if you run a 24-hour operation, or that there's some means where it can be automated, it can be turned on automatically once set up. All these things are worth considering in your sort of disaster recovery plan. In terms of things like snowfall, believe it or not, climate change is actually increasing the risk of severe snowfall, particularly in southern England. It's actually up by 10%, the risk of heavy snowfall. And so again, if your business premises has a large flat roof area, or you've got a flat factory roof, you probably want to do some disaster planning to mitigate cause of injury or loss of equipment if you suddenly have 3 or 4 feet of snow on your roof. Most roofs are designed to cope with theoretical maximums of snow, but again, climate change has probably increased that theoretical maximum, so just be on your guard should you have 2 or 3 feet of snow that you don't necessarily have anyone in the danger zone in the middle of a large flat roof that may not be supported adequately, or indeed if the snow causes you disruption in any other way, like for example your employees might not be able to get to work, and in fact in the UK you don't need much snow to prevent people from getting to work. And again, consider whether you can accept that as a loss. Employees stay at home, don't need to come in, like a company day off, or whether you have a remote working strategy for times like this. Again, snowfall in the UK is vanishingly rare. It's probably something you can just accept, just absorb the cost if and when it happens. But obviously bear in mind the increased impact of snow when it does occur. Now, in terms of other climate change things, wind damage is increasing as well. Obviously, most business premises are insured against wind damage, but just make sure that in your disaster recovery plan you have a procedure if very strong winds are expected. For example, would you encourage your employees to stay at home if you're in a Met Office red warning, for example. What's your plan? How do you deal with it? And what's going to be the financial impact to operations? Again, these things are relatively rare, but when they happen, it's always best to have some sort of plan. Things like an aspect of climate change is things like the growing popularity of congestion charges, the sort of almost the disappearance of car park space. So you might want to sort of consider, are you in an area that's potentially looking at introducing congestion charging or some sort of green initiative to encourage people not to use their cars? Obviously, you need to sort of plan for that. That's sort of almost sort of a marketing thing. Can you reward people for coming in a different way? Can you encourage them to come in a different way? By or any sort of means whatsoever. In other words, if you're looking at this is more of a marketing tactic now. If you relied on people coming in and they have to pay a congestion charge, and you would say make a few £100 out of that visit, then you may want to consider, as a promotional thing, offering to pay for their congestion charge, so they're not put off by coming and buying from you. Likewise, if they've got an electric car, you may want to offer to charge their car up whilst they're at your premises. So again, it's a bit of a promotional thing. So these are sort of opportunities in the face of, I suppose, changing legislation, changing environments. You can use some of it to your advantage by focused promotions and trying to adjust the behaviour of your customer. With climate change, there's obviously a great opportunity if your business is making anything that could be helpful in disaster prevention. So whether your business is fortunate enough to make diesel run pumps or backup batteries or sort of fire protection systems, then all this is a golden opportunity for you to sort of highlight how your business can help the customer. So, for example, you may have a product that owners of industrial estates might be interested in, some sort of product that would reduce the risk of fire for the whole estate, and it wasn't like too expensive, some sort of system that would protect the whole estate, or again that would protect the whole estate from flooding, because obviously estate managers, they don't want to lose all their tenants, so they're interested in sort of disaster prevention products and services. So again, if you're involved in that, or you can, with only a mild adjustment to your business plan, offer some sort of disaster prevention service or product, then obviously consider that. You probably already are, but certainly with the fires that have happened in LA, I think in particular, if you're selling some sort of fire prevention service or product on a business estate or even a single business, then whilst that's fresh in most people's memories, you can certainly promote your products in accordance with can you afford for your business to burn down, is buy this product, buy this service, and we can reduce the chance of that. So there's all these opportunities. Changing legislation, some of it's future change in legislation about what people can and can't do. It always provides opportunities for new services or products, as well as obviously, I suppose, providing more threats for your business. So again, saying changing legislation introduces, charging congestion that covers your business, or your business falls into that zone, then that's both a threat and an advantage. You can use it. You can use it both ways. But legislation could also mean that, for example, I'm just trying to think of an example where you have to have all your computers turned off at night if no one's using them. I don't know how you'd legislate that, but take that as a sort of a crude example. Then you can easily accommodate some things, and other things would be more challenging. Solar panels is another opportunity. Now, I'd say a lot of businesses have already gone for the low-hanging fruit. The best deals may have happened in the past now, but certainly if you've got a large flat roof, or not, doesn't have to be flat actually, but just a roof that gets lots of sun, then there's lots and lots of deals out there where effectively you can have the solar panels installed for free. You get to use the energy during the day, and the person coming up with the capital cost, gets to use the energy for free, obviously weekends and evenings and everything else. So that's something you may want to consider. There's although the government financial assistance for solar panels has decreased massively, solar panels have themselves come down in cost massively. So there's probably still deals to be had if you want to appear to be green or actually reduce your costs with no upfront cost to yourself. Again, I suspect a lot of businesses that can do this have done this, but it may have just not. You may have not had time to do it before. So here's another sort of wake up call to that sort of possibility. In terms of other wind generation devices, it's probably not worth your while unless you unless your business is on an exposed Outer Hebridean headland or something like that. It doesn't generally the wind, the amount of energy from wind from small turbines are not particularly, they're not as good as solar panels. The real energy comes from these massive 100-meter tall wind turbines out to sea or on top of hills. So I wouldn't really bother with anything like that. Solar panels is probably the only way you can reasonably appear green from a business credentials point of view with no sort of upfront cost. Right, okay, so that's really that's climate change. So I haven't been able to, this video isn't as long as my previous three, because obviously most people are aware of climate change. They're aware of what they can do. Again, it is let this episode be a reminder to review your disaster recovery plan. Is it up to date? Has anything significantly changed in your local environment? Have more trees been planted? Has undergrowth been allowed to grow up? Is there an easy way for fire to get into your premises? Is there an easy way for flooding to get to your premises? Have local ditches and stuff been maintained, or are they all blocked up with vegetation? If so, it's important that you get onto your council or onto your industrial estate manager and have that sort of rectified, because that could aid flooding as well. And have a look at your insurance policies. Just make sure you're covered for the things you want to be covered. It probably, if the insurance company has removed certain thing, it's probably because they've worked out it's more likely to happen and the impact of them is greater. So it is probably worth trying to get cover. So I'm thinking particularly for the UK flooding. If your business has been flooded a number of times, chances are they might not offer that insurance, or they may have put a big premium on it. It is worth shopping around. It is worth making sure that you are insured. But again, it's not going to insure you for loss of income. So in the disaster recovery plan, you really do need to make sure that you can very quickly adapt to the imminent threat of flooding by having a plan to put all equipment on top of tables, or if you're lucky enough to have other floors, to move them up to upper floors. And this can be done sort of the day before a flood warning happens, although I have to say flood warnings are not normally that useful. The worst floods sort of take everyone by surprise, and the notice you may have may be too short to do anything about it. So keep your eyes and ears open to how flooded is your area already. Is it on the brink of flooding, and is there heavy rain forecast for that night? Use your best judgment as to whether you think it's time to enact the in this particular case, the flood disaster prevention plan. Right, well, that really sort of wraps up what I have to say about climate change. Obviously, the LA fires have really focused minds. I'm sure I'm not the only one. Looking at those lovely green trees around your business with a slightly new light. If you liked this episode, please like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. And next week, I'm going to be talking about AI and how that can be a threat to your business, or in good news terms, it's probably more of an advantage. So there's more opportunities and threats with AI for your business, and we're going to talk about that and do a deep dive. Okay, well, thanks very much for listening. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you next week. Goodbye.